Welcome back to the holidays on Hill TV. We've got some interesting new research on misinformation in the media from Morning Consult to dig into. Here with us to discuss is Senior Data Editor of Morning Consult and friend to Hill TV, Joanna Piacenza. Thanks for being back with us, Joanna.
It is good to be here. Yeah. I have not been here in a while. It's good to be back.
It is.
I like what you've done with the place.
Well, you know, we're working it out. We got a guy. So you guys just finished doing some work. Tell us about what the research is you've been working on.
Well, you know, we are conducting thousands of interviews every day at Morning Consult, and one of the questions that everyone gets asked, age, race, et cetera, is media consumption. So I had the crazy idea to collect surveys from the last year to look at media consumption by congressional district, by cable news. That's kind of how the project started. I wanted to look at the relationship between Fox and CNN and MSNBC and kind of gauge viewership at the congressional district level.
And so what'd you find?
Well, we found that in 299 of the 436, because we included DC in there, you know, got to represent DC. In 299, Fox News is viewed more than CNN and MSNBC by 2 percentage points. So essentially...
Okay, so 70% of congressional districts out there are watching Fox News more than CNN or MSNBC, and that's not respective of party. That's overall.
That's overall. And one of the things that I expected to see is that among the districts that had a really high percentage of Fox viewership, that those districts would lean more conservative. Fox News tends to be a more conservative-leaning outlet, especially in its opinion and commentary. But there was no correlation. In fact, some of the districts with the highest share of Fox News viewership are deeply blue. I'm talking about Georgia's 13th, for example, which is a suburb of Atlanta. That has one of the highest shares, or it's a district with the highest share of people who are watching Fox News once a week, and it's pretty deeply blue. So I was surprised that there wasn't more of a correlation there.
Well, I mean, yeah, everybody thinks of Fox News as being a place where if you're conservative, you go in and watch. Maybe if you're not conservative, you want to hate watch it a little bit. But you think CNN and MSNBC are the places that people who are not conservative will spend most of their time getting their news, but you're saying that's not the case.
And the other thing is we're able to look at, because this is such a huge sample, this is over 1 million survey responses that we were analyzing. I'm very tired.
I was going to say, how do you even, like, how long did it take you to get 1 million people in a sample?
Oh, I mean, we did the last year. We had to gather the last year of responses. It took our team about 3 months to make sure everything was exactly right and do all the visuals. We have an amazing graphics and development team. But I expected Republicans, of course, to be watching Fox News, and Democrats, of course, to be watching MSNBC. But another surprising takeaway were that independents, because we're able to look at party affiliation within congressional district. Independents were also disproportionately watching Fox News. In 306 of the 436 congressional districts, independents were watching Fox News more than CNN and MSNBC.
And could you tell anything on frequency? How often they were watching, or, you know, what kinds of shows they were watching?
Not what kinds of shows, that's for a follow-up analysis, but in order for us to kind of set a barrier, everyone in this analysis was watching this program at least weekly or more. So at least once a day or at least weekly. And, you know, I think when looking at an analysis like this and thinking about 2020, you can't help but think about 2020 at this point, especially looking at media consumption by district. I think it's important to remember that this is a piece of the puzzle. You know, I think we've come a far away from the magic bullet theory in J school that you are what you watch. But I think that media consumption, especially cable news, is an important part of that piece when looking towards 2020.
Right. So when you're talking about media consumption, this is 2019, almost 20. People are not just getting their media from television. They're also doing social media. So you guys took a look at Facebook and Twitter.
We did. So 76% of people are on Facebook at least once a week. I was amazed by that. I'm an older millennial. I feel like I'm not on Facebook as much as younger people are. I don't know, though. I guess older people are on Facebook too. Okay. I also don't have Instagram. I know. We can. That's for another conversation. But we wanted to look at the share.
If you don't have Instagram, then what do you do when you go out to dinner?
I know. It's this weird thing. I talk with people. I know. It's it's strange. I have conversations.
This is old school.
It's very strange.
Go ahead.
But we wanted to look at Facebook usage across congressional districts because of the misinformation issues that Facebook has had. And, to their credit, they've taken steps to try to correct it. But a lot of the critics are still pointing at that company and saying, you haven't done enough. So we wanted to look at the districts that could potentially be the most vulnerable to misinformation. All of them, if you're looking at all adults, are Republican. So the districts that have the highest Facebook usage are all Republican districts. And all the districts that have the lowest usage are all Democratic.
Interesting. So you aren't able to tell yet whether or not they're being influenced, but you are able to see just where they're getting their information. Yeah,
this analysis is kind of a half step. So these are the places where misinformation could run the deepest because people are on this platform the most.
And what about Twitter?
Twitter is interesting. I feel like on the coasts we're using Twitter all the time. Yeah. I was just on Twitter in the dressing room.
I know. I had to snatch you off of that Twitter machine to get you to come in here.
I will be on Twitter after this. Twitter is something that's used really heavily in more urban areas, of course. But one of the things that I noticed as we're going through the 2 million survey responses for Twitter was that Republicans are disproportionately using Twitter in spaces that are traditionally blue. So for example, Washington, D.C., where we are, is a traditionally blue district. But there's a higher share of Republicans that are using Twitter compared to Democrats. So I think it's 53% of Republicans are on Twitter once a week compared to about a third of Democrats. So the way I frame it in the article is that Republicans could be using Twitter as a safe space, which who knew that Twitter could be a safe space?
It's not exactly what you think of Twitter as being safe.
Not quite.
So we're seeing Twitter, Facebook seem to be leaning a little bit more Republican, and then people are getting information from Fox, which also is leaning Republican. So are there any spaces where, call it nonpartisan to more liberal, that you're seeing some heavier influence?
That's a great question. I've been doing a lot of work on media consumption and media partisanship and attitudes about whether or not certain media outlets lean one way or the other. I think the closest, from what I've seen in terms of nonpartisan perceptions is places like NPR. But what's notable is that attitudes about media's credibility have gone down since 2016.
Well, there have been all these reports that there are people out there who think that this is how things ought to be. I mean, think about someone like Steve Bannon, who was at Breitbart. This was one of the Steve Bannon tropes, was that he wanted people to recognize that all media had perspective and none of it could be completely trusted. So everybody should just, kind of act out on their perspective, live that out. It sounds like that is something that is seeping into the firmament.
Whether or not that's true or not, I think that Republicans do have some sort of advantage. If you look back on the Fox News analyses, Democrats tend to be their media diet has a little bit more variety in it. When you're looking at TV, they're looking at places like ABC, CNN, and
so is this
NBC.
the challenge, that Democrats are looking at more sources, Republicans are looking at fewer, and they're just over-indexing in those sources that they're looking at?
Yes and no. So if you're a Republican lawmaker and you know that your constituents, your party, are going to one news source to get their news, it would not benefit you to detract from that messaging. You'd want to stay on message. So in many ways, the Republicans have a more unified message because they're really only looking at one big news source, at least in terms of TV, whereas Democrats, there's a lot more variety there. There's a lot more chances to have mixed messages. Fox News tends to line up with what the president says. Republican lawmakers tend to line up with what Fox News, Trump says. It's more unified, and therefore, in some ways, it is stronger.
Thanks for watching Hill TV on YouTube. Be sure to click subscribe and hit the bell so you know when we post new videos. And head to thehill.com for all the latest political news.